Karen didn't whisper. She screamed it loud enough for 3 houses to hear. If I hear those mutts barking one more time, I swear to God, I'll burn that kennel to the ground. Her voice cracked through the stillness of the cul-de-sac like lightning. She was standing on her front lawn, arms flailing, phone in one hand, wine glass in the other. Her designer sandals sank slightly into the grass, but she didn't seem to care. She was too busy pointing across the street at a modest one-story home with pale blue shutters and a white picket fence. That house belonged to Mrs. Eleanor Grace, age 80, widowed, gentle. Spent her days tending woses, feeding the birds, and caring for 6 rescue dogs she kept in a small but clean kennel behind the house. Karen hated the dogs. "It smells like wet fur and death," she shouted. "Every morning at 6 a.m. they start barking. I'm calling code enforcement." Again. Eleanor stepped out from behind her gate. She was holding a bowl of water. Her hands trembled slightly, but her eyes were steady. "They're all licensed, Karen. The city inspector signed off last spring." Karen scoffed. "You think I care about papers? This is my peace and quiet you're ruining. You're not going to get away with it." And then she said it, the words that turned the neighborhood from uncomfortable to furious. "Maybe next time I'll take a match and handle it myself." She laughed. But Eleanor didn't. Neither did the man sitting in the car at the end of the street. A dark sedan, windows half down, a man in his late 50s, clean suit, calm face, watching. Judge Anthony Grace, Eleanor's only son. What Karen didn't know, he had just pulled into town for a surprise weekend visit, and he had heard every word. The neighborhood wasn't fancy, but it was tight-knit. Retired couples, nurses, teachers, a young family or two. People knew each other by name, waved at mail carriers, left holiday cookies on doorsteps. And Eleanor? She was the heart of it. She had lived on Hawthorne Lane for 43 years, raised Anthony there, buried her husband there, watched the neighborhood grow up and grow old with her. Everyone knew her dogs. Each one had a name and a story. Benny, the 3-legged terrier she rescued from a freeway ditch. Mochi, a golden retriever abandoned at a truck stop. Waffles, part beagle, part mystery, all bark. They weren't loud, not really, just present, alive. Karen had moved in 2 years ago. Cash offer, no kids, no introductions. At first she was just cold. Then came the noise complaints. Then the code enforcement visits. Then the time she threw a bag of dog poop over Eleanor's fence. But this, a threat of arson, this was different. By evening, the neighborhood chat group was buzzing. "Did you hear what Karen said to Eleanor? My daughter was walking her baby and heard the whole thing. Someone better report this before it turns into something real." But someone already had. Anthony didn't tell his mother he was there. Not yet. He didn't want to alarm her. Instead, he stayed in the car, pulled out his phone, and began taking notes. License plate, timestamp, description of threat, witnesses. He called a former colleague at the sheriff's office, told him to keep it quiet. "Just flagging this for now, but if she escalates, I'll bring it down myself." Because Anthony Grace wasn't just a judge. He had once prosecuted organized crime. He had seen what obsession and entitlement could turn into. And this woman, she was either delusional or dangerous, maybe both. And he wasn't about to let her lay a hand on his mother, not while he was still breathing. The next morning started the same as every other. Sunlight spilled across Eleanor's rose bushes. Birds chirped. The dogs rustled in their pens. Benny let out a sleepy bark. Waffles followed suit. It was 6:03 a.m. At 6:07, Karen stormed out in a house robe and slippers. This time, she didn't just yell. She came right up to the gate. "You think this is cute? You think I'm bluffing?" She banged the side of the fence with a broom handle, hard. The dogs barked louder. "I called animal control. They'll shut this place down. And if they don't, I swear I'll shut it down myself." Eleanor opened the screen door slowly. Her voice was calm, tired. "You're scaring the dogs. Please go home." Karen raised her phone, started recording. "This psycho's got 6 mutts barking at dawn and she thinks I'm the problem. Let's show the world what a hoarder looks like." She panned the camera around, zooming in on the kennel, then on Eleanor's face. "This is elder abuse by noise," she snapped. That line got her attention. Eleanor's hand tightened on the door frame. Then a new voice cut through the air. "Ma'am, put the phone down." Karen turned. Anthony was standing at the end of the driveway. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't threatening, but his tone was different, measured, authority in every syllable. That footage, it just became evidence. Karen blinked. "Who the hell are you?" "Her son," he said, and a senior judge for the state of California. Silence. Even the dog stopped barking. Anthony pulled a folded piece of paper from his coat pocket. "This is a cease and desist. Harassment, public disturbance, threats of arson. We've got statements, timestamps, and video. Keep pushing this, and I will see you in court." Karen's mouth opened, then shut. Her phone lowered slightly. You can't threaten me." "I'm not," Anthony said. "I'm informing you." Then he turned, opened the gate, and helped his mother inside. Karen stood there speechless. And for the first time in weeks, the street was quiet. Karen didn't go quiet. She went online. That night, she posted a 3-minute video to Facebook titled, "My Side of the Story." She filmed it from her kitchen, wine glass in frame, makeup perfect, tone condescending. "They're trying to silence me for standing up for peace and quiet in my own neighborhood. I'm being harassed by some judge who thinks his mommy can do whatever she wants." The video went viral for the wrong reasons. Commenters ripped her apart. "You threatened an old lady's dogs with fire." A senior judge. "Good luck, Karen. You just confessed. On camera." Anthony didn't respond. He didn't have to. The next morning, a sheriff's cruiser pulled up outside Karen's house. 2 deputies. Calm, professional, body cameras on. "Ms. Bledsoe, we're here to serve you an official order of protection on behalf of Mrs. Eleanor Grace." Karen tried to argue, tried to pull out her phone again. "I have rights. So does she," one deputy cut in. The order included mandatory distance, no contact, and a scheduled court hearing in 2 weeks. Karen slammed the door. But the consequences didn't stop there. That afternoon, a letter from the state's Judicial Conduct Board arrived at Anthony's office. Someone, Karen most likely, had filed a complaint. It didn't go well. Anthony presented the footage, the cease and desist, the neighborhood statements. Within 24 hours, the complaint was dismissed, and a formal investigation was opened against Karen. The charge? Criminal threats with intent to intimidate a vulnerable adult. The DA's office took it seriously. Karen got a summons. Eleanor got security. And the entire neighborhood? They got quiet. Karen's house sat still, shades drawn, car unmoved, porch lights off. But justice? Justice was moving. Fast. The courthouse was smaller than the ones Anthony was used to. But the weight in the air? Heavy. Karen sat at the defense table, wearing a beige blazer and oversized sunglasses she refused to take off. Across the aisle, Eleanor sat with quiet dignity, flanked by her son and 2 neighbors who had volunteered to testify. The judge was a woman in her 60s, sharp-eyed, no nonsense. She read the charges aloud: criminal threat, harassment, and willful intimidation of an elderly person. Karen's lawyer tried to spin it. "My client was simply expressing frustration in a private dispute. This has been blown wildly out of proportion." Then they played the video. The courtroom fell silent as Karen's voice echoed off the walls. "Maybe next time I'll take a match and handle it myself." Followed by her laugh, then her second video, then screenshots of comments, hers. By the time the prosecution rested, even the court clerk looked disgusted. Anthony declined to speak, but when asked to submit a statement, he simply handed the judge a folder marked Exhibit G, character statements. Inside, letters from 11 neighbors, each one telling the same story. Eleanor was kind, respectful, quiet. Karen was not. The judge deliberated for 20 minutes, then returned with the ruling. "Ms. Bledsoe, you are found guilty of making a criminal threat with an intent to harass. You are hereby sentenced to 1 year of probation, 200 hours of community service at an animal shelter, and mandatory anger management classes. You are also ordered to pay $8,000 in restitution to Mrs. Grace." Karen's face turned white. She opened her mouth to protest, but the judge raised a hand. "I suggest you take the deal, because the next time you threaten to burn something down, it won't be probation. It'll be jail." Karen nodded, slowly, stiffly, silently. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Anthony shielded his mother with his coat. Eleanor didn't speak. She didn't need to. But as they passed a camera crew, one reporter asked, "Mrs. Grace, how do you feel?" Eleanor paused, then smiled gently. "Relieved and ready to go home to my dogs." A week after the verdict, the neighborhood felt different. Not louder, not quieter, just safer. Karen's house sat empty. A for sale sign leaned slightly in the grass, the letter sun faded, like the reputation she'd left behind. But across the street, Eleanor's yard was blooming. The roses had come in early, the bird feeders were full, and the kennel, painted fresh white with new fencing and a welcome sign that read, "Bark, don't bite." Neighbors dropped by more often now, with casseroles, with extra biscuits, with gratitude. Anthony stayed 2 weeks longer than planned. He helped patch the roof, rewired the garage, even built a shaded run for the dogs. And every night, he and his mother would sit on the porch, side by side, listening. Not for threats, not for barking, just life. One evening, Eleanor looked over and said, "I didn't think I'd feel safe again." "Not really, but you being here changed everything." Anthony didn't respond right away. He just nodded, then asked, "Want to walk the block?" Eleanor smiled. "Only if we bring the pack." So they did. 6 dogs, 2 humans, 1 quiet victory. And for once, justice didn't come in a gavel slam or a courtroom speech. It came in the sound of paws on pavement, in the laughter of neighbors, in the peace no one would ever threaten again. Because the truth had stood up, because dignity had fought back, because even the smallest voice, if it's right, can be heard, especially when the law is listening.